Requirements for advisory boards. Item 5.
I'm just curious because I was asked what the definition of residency is. We have two different provisions in your code. One is in the Planning Commission, and the other one is for the Park Board. And in the Planning Commission, it says at least 4 of the 5 full-term commission members shall be residents in the City of Pacific. And with Park Board, it says that the Park Board commissioners shall be from citizens who reside in the city. And what I'd recommend is that you change that so it says that a person who has resided in the city at least a year prior to appointment, so that you have some kind of residency requirement. As it says right now, it's just resident of the City of Pacific, and that doesn't mean anything. The person could be a resident the day before of the appointment. And it appears to me that the reason you're asking that the person be a resident is because you think they should have familiarity with the city and that they should know something about the subject. And that would mean they'd have to be in the city longer than a day before the appointment. There's no real definition in the law of residency, but there are cases where mayors have been ousted because they were required to meet the residency requirements for an election. As you know, run for office, you have a residency requirement. And the things that the courts look at were where you actually intended to reside, and they look at things like where you registered to vote, what's your address on your driver's license. They've looked at things like your utility bills, where the bills go, where your residence is, as identified on your tax forms to the IRS, things like that. So does that answer your question?
So I know, at least I thought this was on the governance initially anyway, but I think in sending this to the governance committee for referral, I think you've mentioned there's differences between Planning Commission and Park Board.
Well, there was a slight difference. Both of them required them to be residents, but neither said how long they had to be residents for. You said you had to be a resident of the city, which would mean you could be a resident the day before you were appointed.
So rather than look specifically at Park Board or Planning Commission, I think all of our boards and commissions, we should evaluate the requirements. So governance committee or job is done well.
Yeah, it requires you to be a resident of the city. What about a homeowner of the city?
Well, that's just what's in your code. You can change your code if you don't like it.
Again?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to vote and change the code, we can change the code.
So that's what we're saying at the governance committee.
I will tell you, I started researching this and going city by city with the cities that are close to our population, and there are lots of cities where the requirements for different boards are different.
Right.
And none of them have I found a residency definition.
Right. It's not no, it isn't even in, like, for instance, for mayors or city council members.
Yes.
And that's something that's normally challenged, because what happens is you meet the residency requirement by saying that you are a resident. And then if someone challenges you, it's up to them to prove that you're not a resident. And in this one case that I found, and I'd be happy to give you a case if you're interested, the mayor of the city of Wenatchee at some point in time was challenged, and they went through some of the documentation I just described: driver's license, utility bills, phone bills, cell phone bills, IRS statements, to try and find out where did he identify his address. Because the point is to find out where you say you are living, where your residency is. What do you intend? It's not where you just stay for a couple nights. And so they found out, looking at all this documentation, that he didn't really reside in Wenatchee, and he was out because of the residency requirement. So it's something that courts go through. But you need to make a decision about whether or not you think that a particular position requires a residency requirement. And I can tell you, in my experience, there are some types of positions it's especially hard to fill with residents. Like when you're looking for members to comprise like an architectural review board or a design review board, and you want to have an architect that resides in the city. And those are really difficult to find. Sometimes you only find someone who's in the general area. So, you really have to look at each each type of position and decide whether or not you think it requires a residency limitation.
Other comments from council? I know that we've talked about this for other things we've done. The committee's looked at it objectively and not as a single person. There's a lot of pressure on a single person, but we need to look at what's right for the city and look at what's right for those specific boards. So.
Other cities are so different. Some of them don't care if they're a resident or not.
Well, a lot of times you can't find enough people.
Right. So we'll look at it.
So when do you meet next?
John?
6:30.
Okay. Just going to say you'll have at least some kind of discussion points for the next workshop. Can we put that on the next workshop for discussion?
Is Amy going to be there?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't know.
You know, if I would be 6 months?
I have no idea.
But I didn't get to know.
Me too.
Okay.
Different reasons. Okay, so any other comments around the residency requirement for advisory boards? Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
And Lance. Now we're back on track. So
Back on
item
what?
D, well, we're back on our numbering order. Item D, ordinance number 2015-1893, setting rates for sewer service in the city of Pacific.
Good evening again. The resolution before you tonight is to consider making a rate adjustment to acknowledge the fact that King County late last year raised their rates that they're charging their customers. And they had a rate increase of about 5.63%, which translates into $2.24 that they were passing on to their customers. So the resolution and the rate adjustment that we're proposing is just that, to reflect the rate increase that King County made, and that this would be a rate increase on our customers with the rationale and the thinking that it's we don't fall further behind in a very strong and needed revenue source. Now, I will remind council that there will be an opportunity for citizens to comment. Next Monday night, there's a public hearing scheduled. If you choose to pass this and move it forward to next Monday night, that the citizens will have a chance to weigh in on the rate proposal. So it is staff's recommendation, though, that this move forward to next Monday night. And if there are questions.
What's the average cost increase for
$2.
It adds $2.24 to the current charge that the residents are
Monthly
receiving.
bill.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, Councilor Steck.
When was this rate increase going into effect?
It appears to go in effect May 1st, and I think that's correct, this year.
It's forthcoming.
To the city, but
You said last year.
King County had to let their customers know that this rate increase, they have passed it, and that it will take effect on our residents on May 1st.
Because we just made an increase in sewer rates.
That was for previous increases.
It was last year and we were way behind.
If it's council's pleasure, just a quick sidebar, 30-second history. King County Wastewater Division and in large is under a consent decree by the Environmental Protection Agency, and they are having to build a lot of new infrastructure to deal with combined sewer infrastructure, sewer overflow, stormwater, and break that up. So to keep up with the consent decree and the cost of them to build their capital as well as their ongoing operating expenses, it is expected that we will see annual rate increases from King County. It would not surprise me that this will be an annual occurrence for the next few years coming forward.
Other questions from council? So there's a $20 City of Pacific charge. What all does that entail? Why are we charging that? because we pass it through on our bill, right? So that's administrative, but what hard costs go into that?
This is the staff and the electricity and everything that we have for our service that we provide for the collection services within the collection system. When we are monitoring, just the repair, the maintenance, sewer blockage, the staff goes out to unplug it, that's represented in this. And Rich, is there anything else that you want to mention beyond the O&M costs for the $20?
Really, this is a pass-through. The last rate hike was early last year, and that was because the funds had been losing money the previous, 3 or so years and had been in the red, where we had to make special entries to keep it from being not in compliance with state law. So this will be coming forward every year, just like this now. Hopefully we won't need to raise rates.
Except for the $20. But the $20,
yeah, I don't think that's changed a whole lot. And
What does it include?
It includes infrastructure. I mean, it includes, like Lance was saying, staff time, staff going out and doing repairs and maintenance on it, and then staff in the house doing billing, answering questions, that kind of thing.
so if there's a line break, it comes out of the fund that this $20 goes into, or is that somewhere else?
No, actually it's all in one line, so it's looped together. We do have an expense line for King County Metro. That's the most significant expense for the city. It's about $107,000 a month. But as far as revenue, we don't separate it out like that. I'm thinking maybe we could. I'll look into it.
I'm just wondering, of the $20 a month, what's our hard figure? Like, what's the city actually paying versus what we're charging? Is it close to 20? Are we still taking a loss because of the maintenance?
No, we're not at a loss now, but we need to. I don't know that we have enough in that $20 to build up the capital improvement fund, and that's what we're looking at now, because you want to cover all the operations, right? You also want to cover future capital projects, because you can't rely on grants to fund it 100%. And so we have to find a number that's going to work where we have enough in the reserve, but the capital improvement fund to know that we don't have to always hold off on doing things because we're not billing enough. Now you have to figure out too how it impacts the citizens and hear from them on this, and find that middle ground, which is the challenge for every city. So, I mean, can we tell you how that's broken down? I can talk to Jim Morgan about it, and Lance and I can work with him and see if we can bring it forward.
Can we put this on the finance committee's agenda?
Okay.
Yeah, I want to say Jay Bennett did the last update of that several years before he left the city, so I think it has been a while since Council had a real cost study on, but I'm happy to go into that.
Well, this is a huge increase. I mean, it's $2, but if you're going to do it every year, I want to make sure that we're being fair across the board. But I think we talked about it in finance.
Okay.
And then we'll report back to council. Other questions from council on this? What's the council pleasure?
Move forward.
Sounds exciting. We'll talk about it next week. Another one. Resolution 2015-232, soliciting quote for title reports for parcels on West Valley and Milwaukee.
Council, this will be probably the shortest item I have tonight. We can pull this as it has become moot, and we didn't catch this before it came to the final agenda. But the short answer is that this early determination was that this was a professional service, and we were going to have to enter into a professional service contract. In discussion with the city attorney, this is considered more of a procurement of a good, because we're just getting a very discrete item, and that we can just issue a purchase order to acquire the needed title reports for the project.